So I want to make a quick video. So as usual, you know, behind the scenes, talking with other people in the manosphere, Ed, and just exchanging voice notes, kind of catching up to his, and then talking about stuff. And one thing I wanted to talk about was imposter syndrome, right? But it led me down a path of, you know, how black men devalue themselves. Like, for instance, if of course, it was like just talking. I mentioned things about me when I make a lot of videos or assumptions and assertions about the black community, and say, you know, this is what the black community does, this is what the black community doesn't do, so on and so forth. I put myself in that because there are so many things that I subscribe to as well as a black person in America. You know, saying, hey, listen, this is the community. This is or this is my piece of the. This is how I am. Affected by the community. I don't know how this is going to sound, but hopefully it sounds okay. This is the projects in my area, by the way. This is like the poking beans, like in Miami and shit. But yeah, so I'll project my voice on this. But I put myself in a lot of these things, right? Like the programming that has, the programming and the marketing that I am susceptible to, that I fall into. But then it's like another thought part is the, and this is all a precursor to stuff. Another part is the social belief of that you should not be here. You should not have what you have. You should not be able to do what you do, right? But then that leads into something where that's almost like a gynocratic psyop, right? Where you're looking at yourself as not being worthy of the things that you have achieved and you've attained, even if you've obtained it for a small period of time. Like, for instance, say for instance you get something but then you lose it. Are you like, say to me, you get something and you lose it. Are you less than because you lost it? Or are you greater than you were before because you were even able to get it? You know, or are you less than because you got it, but you shouldn't have had it, even for a short period of time? Or, for instance, if it's like a car and you get a car and, for instance, you have to return it or some shit happens and you have to get rid of it, right? Well, are you less than because you had to get rid of it? Or would you still be less than if you paid that car off and, you know, go through the entire note, 5 years or what have you, and then you still ended up trading the vehicle in for another one? Well, shit, should you have even had one? Should you have just waited 5 years to get X, Y, and Z? So it's like things like that where we think about these things and it's really kind of perspective, right? So that led me into talking about imposter syndrome. But then that led me further into thinking about the Gynocratic monetary policy. And a part of the quote-unquote Gynocratic monetary policy that I was thinking about is that a lot of people have this thought process of how they think black male resources should be put right back into the community. When you talk about like Dr. Umar and how he says, you know, so much money leaves the black community. Let's look at Kobe and his legacy and what's left behind. That goes to a Hispanic woman, as if his daughters aren't black, as if Kobe, while he was here, wasn't doing a whole bunch of stuff for the WNBA, as if he didn't do anything for his daughters and women's basketball in general to provide and protect, or to provide and motivate and push up women's basketball and push it to the forefront, because all he had were daughters. He had the player's curse, so to speak, right? So it's like, you know, when you think about these things and you start to really look into the fact that the Gynocratic monetary policy is much like the IRS. So the premise of this was the IRS has this policy where they tax the shit out of your savings and your tax the shit out of your savings, and they almost don't want you to hold on to your money because it slows down the velocity of money, which means they have to print more money and everything else like that to get that money back into circulation. So, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong on that. That's my understanding of it. A part of, you know, monetary velocity is making sure that money always keeps churning, always keeps going, always keeps moving. And you can't have money keep moving or getting out there and putting it in the hands of other people, new people, you know, your immigrants coming in and all this other stuff. You can't do that if everybody holds on to, you know, a lot of the wealth. So one of the things why you see a lot of rich people become even richer or do more is because low-key, partially, they fucking have to. A part of the things is that they have to do things to have tax write-offs and other things like that. And they say, all right, cool, I have to buy a new piece of property. Or I have to buy, you know, you ever see businesses where they buy a whole bunch of shit at the end of the year and it's a tax write-off for them. They have to come in under or over or something like that. So they buy a whole bunch of equipment, they so that they can depreciate it. That's why you see them, like, it's cheaper to buy a new truck every year or every 2 to 3 years rather than keeping onto an old truck and keep on fixing it. There's also logistical things with that as well, because you don't have to fix new trucks, they're new, you know? So they, like, if they have a problem with that truck, you could switch it out. That's why you have a fleet and all types of other shit. So with that being said, the Gynocratic monetary policy is one where black male resources have to go back into the community. So, for instance, you ever be a single man and you have a nice vehicle. For one of my stories was that I was working doing my computer consulting gig, and it was this Christian, the early Head Start school. So it was like this Christian association school or whatever. It's like, I won't get to the name, but one thing that they, I had the 740 Li, so this was around 2015, 2016. And I pulled up to the playground, and one of the ladies saw me, and it was like, oh my God, that's a nice car, blah, blah, blah. I bet your lady like this. I go, oh no, I ain't really got nobody like that, because women be doing that. That's their game and shit, like, right? That's the game they try to play. Oh, I bet your girlfriend likes this or that. So I go, no, I don't really have a girlfriend or anything like that. Oh, you need somebody to help you spend that money. And I was like, I thought it was weird then when it happened, and I was just like, yeah, that's kind of fucking weird. Why would you say that? Like, I don't need help spending money. Like, I have a 740 Li here. Like, what fucking makes you think I need help spending this fucking money? Like, bitch, I'm good. I'm great, in fact, at spending fucking money. It's just actually, you know, one of my fatal flaws. I'm really good at it. And you start to see other things, right? Where, oh, you're gay if you don't do something. How men almost get sent on a crash out mission or send off mission when they get money. BGS talked about, you know, black women don't trust black men enough to reach the finish line. So they wait at the finish line for their man, but then their man along the way, along the race, picked up a non-black woman, right? So then they're like, yo, why did this person pick this non-black woman? You know, he ain't shit, he ain't worth it, so on and so forth. But they don't trust you enough to even make it to the finish line, right? So they become like kind of gold diggers. But then you have other black men that are pushing you into this, right? So, oh, well, you don't have a woman, are you gay? And it's just like, wait, if I don't have a woman and I have nice things, why does that automatically make me gay? You know, or why do you automatically go to that? Why do you even reach that, like, conclusion, so to speak? Excuse me. Why do you reach that conclusion, that mindset? So you start to see, again, the Gynocratic monetary policy, where it's like, okay, if this black man has resources, he needs to be giving it to a black woman or putting it into the black community in some way, shape, form, or fashion. If he is not doing that, we have to chastise that man and make sure we check him or get him, quote unquote, on the right path again to actually put him back in a position to where he is giving money back to the community. If he does not do that, then we have a problem. We need to figure this out. We need to fix this. We need to fix him, or we need to ostracize him, call him a lame, call him less than, so on and so forth, right? And you start to see a part of the the Gynocratic monetary policy is much like the IRS, where they tax you into a position of you should be making more, or no, you should be spending more. Right? Like, okay, you shouldn't hold on to that money. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll give you a tax credit, tax break, or we'll give you some type of when you know, you give you a tax write-off if you start to buy new vehicles, buy equipment, do things to quote unquote benefit the economy. So you can't hold on to that money. That money has to go somewhere. When you start to think about it in this way, how insidious this is, how easy people fall into this trap, how we always find some way to get black male resources out of their pocket and into the pocket of black women, or the government, really, ultimately the government. because then the government takes that and then feeds it back into the system, right? Another thing is when you start to look at what, if you don't have a will and you have to go through probate and stuff like that, and how that affects you, and how you have to put yourself in, or you have to make sure that you have some type of will that writes out exactly what you expect to happen, exactly what you expect to happen when it comes to your assets after your death. Or else the state will take it, put it in probate, sell off all your assets, get that money, and then either it gets dissolved into the state, or it gets or it gets dissolved into the state, or even your hospice, medical treatment, or something like that, because these medical places will put insurance policies on you. So if you die in their care, they get the medical policy, and that's even more money than, for instance, you paying them on a monthly basis. You know, it's kind of insidious how if you look at the Ghost in the Shell and I forgot what it was. It was like the solid brain something, or the solid state. And a part of Ghost in the Shell's solid state was old people would die. The government would program kids or steal kids from parents, give them as wards to the old people. And the way they stole kids was like they would wipe the brains of the parents because everything was cybernetic. They would give the kids to the old people, and then the kids would become will be awarded all the money from the old people's estate. And when they get all that money from the old people's estate, that somehow gets back into the government because the government controls those kids. So it was like a shit ton of old people that were there, and they wanted to give their money, or they needed to get their money someplace, but the government can easily get it to them. It was a whole fucking thing, and I don't totally remember all of the story. I got to go in 2 minutes. That's the thought that I had in terms of the Gynocratic monetary policy, and how the Gynocratic monetary policy feeds off of black men's imposter syndrome, feeds off of black men's insecurity, inferiority complex with their spot in society. How they are quote unquote forced to, or they're forced or pushed to stay within certain bounds, and so on and so forth, so that they can actually feed the gynocracy, feed the black society, so on and so forth. All right, with that being said, I gotta go get my hair washed. Talk to y'all later. Peace. Love y'all. Bye.